From today's TMJ4, this is breaking news now.
Wisconsin's battle over the budget repair bill finally over in the state assembly. To that reaction, lawmakers passed it just a couple of hours ago. And good morning, everybody. It is Friday. I'm Susan Kim.
And I'm Vince Vitrano. We're going to check your weather and traffic in just a few minutes, but first we want to get to these major developments from overnight in Wisconsin's budget battle.
And the Republican Assembly passed the governor's budget repair bill early this morning. Our Charles Benson and Melissa McCready live outside the Capitol this morning. And Charles, we're going to start with you. You were there when the votes actually went down, and there's some questioning about its legitimacy already?
It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen covering politics here in Wisconsin. There was pandemonium and chaos inside that state assembly as they got ready to vote for this bill. I'm going to try to plug in my IFB here again because I lost. I want to hear some of the video as it is played, but I want to tell you that what happened. Listen in as the vote was taken, and once the Republicans said it was time to cut off all debate on it and to begin the vote, the Democrats started screaming, "No, no, you can't do that. Listen in." All right, this came after 60 hours of debate. And Republicans said it was time to vote. They believe that they'd given Democrats every opportunity to say everything that could be said about this bill. But they quickly called for the vote. Shortly after 1 o'clock, the Republicans were in place, and the bill passed within seconds, 51-17. In fact, some Democrats never got a chance to vote on the bill. But once it was over, Republicans started walking off the floor, and listen into now as Democrats started yelling, "Shame, shame, shame," and pointing their finger at Republicans.
And now at a time when we've had an unprecedented outpouring of support for this bill in this Capitol, they have chosen to close down debate when we had 15 people ready to talk and probably more ready to join the debate. That was wrong and illegal.
They were holding the taxpayers of the state hostage by not allowing us to get to the vote. They had no intention of us taking the vote, and our obligations are to the citizens and taxpayers of Wisconsin. We promised and got elected on November 2nd on balancing the budget, not on the backs of the taxpayers.
Now, some Democrats believe that this was an illegal vote because they think the Republicans used some kind of procedural maneuver. It's still very unclear as to what really unfolded here, and everyone says they're going to have to take another look at it right now. Democrats are threatening that there could be some legal action based on how this vote went down. Now, I know my colleague, Melissa McCready, you have been talking to some of the protesters that were inside. What has been their reaction?
Well, I must start with, I have been here for several days and have been inside the Capitol, seen dozens, even hundreds of protesters inside. Well, I have never seen the amount of protesters as I have early this morning, because once that bill passed, hundreds of protesters were right there outside the assembly chambers reacting to the sudden passage. There were tears and very loud, proud cheers. Assembly Democrats received a hero's welcome from their supporters. Hundreds of protesters filled the Capitol Rotunda just after 1 o'clock this morning, chanting, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." I caught up with a group of students from Madison East High School. They tell me that they actually cried once they found out what happened, but of course they continued to cheer everybody on because they felt that was necessary, and they wanted to thank the Assembly Democrats for listening to them and actually fighting on their behalf. Now, Republicans, though, think otherwise, doing what they felt was necessary for the good of Wisconsin and just making this a quick passage of the bill. Now, the question is, what's next for all of these protesters now that it's passed the Assembly? I'll tell you about that coming up at 5:30. For now, reporting live in Madison, Melissa McCready, today's TMJ4.
Charles and Melissa, thank you very much. We do have a question, though, as far as what happened in the Assembly. Why would the Republicans do what they did to create this sort of tension and even more questions when they obviously had the votes to pass this?
Well, the Republicans believed that the time had just simply run out, that they had given the Democrats 60 hours to debate this bill, and they felt that it was just simply time. There had been talk throughout the afternoon that the Republicans were going to maybe call it at some point. It was unclear as to how long they were going to let this debate go. But they decided just minutes after 1 o'clock, they made that move to call the vote, and that's when it went down.
And Charles, you can do that at any time. I mean, they could have done that a long time ago. But did I hear you correctly that some Democrats are complaining that the vote occurred so quickly they didn't even get an opportunity to vote?
Yeah, look at the numbers. It's 51-17. That was the final outcome. There are at least 38 Democrats, and they didn't get a chance to vote. And we know that 4 Republicans did vote against the bill. So you start adding it up. A lot of these Democrats never got a chance to vote. There had been talk about this rare procedural mover that the Republicans could have used to do this type of thing. Republicans are saying they didn't really do that. Democrats say they did.
All right, Charles Benson, Melissa McCready reporting live for us this morning on this breaking news from Madison. Thanks very much, and we'll check back with you as Live at Daybreak continues. Now, still no vote in the state Senate because those minority Democrats have been missing for more than a week, and no one knows when or if they will return from their hideout in Illinois to take up the bill. Governor Walker has said if his budget repair bill is not passed by today, the state loses out on thousands in savings, and layoff notices to 1,500 state workers will go out next week. That's not having any effect, though, on one missing senator.
Do you feel any responsibility to come back to Wisconsin to avoid these layoffs?
No, this is the governor playing poker, and he's taking dedicated public servants like people who teach our kids and people who work our streets and people who open up our state parks and so on, and he's using them like poker chips.
Urbanbach and the other missing 13 senators and unions see the bill as an attack on workers' rights and an attempt to cripple union support for Democrats. Coming up at 6:30 this morning, Senator Tim Carpenter will join us live, and we will ask him if he ever plans to return to Madison to vote.
7 minutes after 5 here, Governor Walker expressing some compassion in the ongoing battle over workers' rights and having to pay more into pensions and health care. Here's what he had to say.
We understand that there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of concern out there, and we feel passionate about that because these are good, decent, hardworking people. I have respect for them. But in the end, to keep from having to have some of their colleagues laid off, to keep from having to make much more dire choices in the future, I believe this is what we have to pass.
And we do not have a statement yet from the governor's office this morning concerning the passage of the bill in the Assembly. We'll continue to follow the breaking news here throughout Live at Daybreak.